Resident Evil 3 Remake has been out for a little while now, and it's already dividing fans and critics. Two of the most common criticisms are, the game is too action-focused, and the game is too short. To that I say, I agree. But I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. Playing Resident Evil 3 for the first time is like stumbling across a forgotten 90s action movie on Netflix that's way better than it has any right to be. It'll make you gasp, it'll make you cheer, it'll make you roll your eyes, and that's always been part of this franchise's magic.
Resident Evil.
Resident Evil titles have this window dressing of being moody horror games, but in many cases, after you get past the opening hours, they turn into irresistibly cheesy action romps. The tone of these games is so kitschy and delectable because they present a Japanese interpretation of US culture. And in a pre-internet world, how did foreigners learn about American culture best? Through the magic of cinema. You don't have to look too hard to spot similarities between Resident Evil games and some of the biggest Hollywood hits of the mid-80s to late 90s, and no RE game parades its influences more proudly than RE3 and its remake. The game's premise in particular is like a Japanese retelling of that one famous James Cameron movie. But its name it's slipping my mind. Muscular, invincible, and dressed in shimmering black, the Nemesis has always been an analogue for the Terminator. The game wastes no time in establishing Nemesis. He crashes the party before the game's tutorial even starts, to let you know he's the real deal. Running away really is your best option, as he relentlessly pursues you through the city streets. Bullets will only slow him down, and it quickly becomes clear that
it absolutely will not stop, ever, until you are dead.
Despite being mostly relegated to scripted set pieces, his presence is felt throughout your entire playthrough. And like all good action horror monsters, even when you think he's beat, he keeps returning to up the ante. The stakes and the explosions keep getting bigger and bigger as your imagination craves the thought of finally putting him down for good. But who's brave enough to stop this monstrosity? Two unlikely heroes, Jill Valentine and Carlos Oliveira, who are forced to partner up despite their differences. In the original, they sounded like melodramatic sock puppets.
I have to ask you something.
I know. You want to ask me out?
But this remake really succeeds in coaxing out the personalities of the leads. The rapport these two build over the course of the game is built on witty one-liners that sound like they've been torn right out the script of Speed.
Miss, can you handle this bus?
Oh sure, it's just like driving a really big Pinto.
Jill has the heroics of Ellen Ripley, while Carlos has the flashy bravado of Jack Traven. Hell, he even sounds like Keanu Reeves.
Will the mystery guest please sign in?
One at a time, take a number.
We end up enjoying their company, and we root for them as they head out to tackle the bad guys. Of course, just like in Speed, the unstoppable killing machine isn't the real monster. Instead, it's a man with an insatiable lust for cash.
I like this. We shall make ours an ongoing arrangement. Now drop the gun!
RE3's Nikolai is a delightfully two-dimensional villain who's easy to hate. He's irredeemably evil, but has just enough charisma to charm you. Pepper in a Russian accent, and you've got the quintessential 80s action movie bad guy. All you want to do is wipe that smug smile off his face. Its action movie influences aren't exclusive to the narrative too. The gameplay enables you to tick off all your action movie desires. Slow-mo bullet dodging, just like The Matrix. Making every bullet count, like in Die Hard. And popping off exploding barrels like, well, you know.
Hasta la vista, baby.
The game is tailor-made to take you to the edge of your seat and compel you to pump your fist at the final victory, because you were Ellen Ripley and you were Sarah Connor.
You're a terminated fucker.
The game's short runtime is key to maintaining its sense of momentum. If you know what you're doing, you can quite literally turn the game into a feature-length experience, which makes it far too tempting to immediately rewind the tape and hit replay.
Alright, let me grab my...
And when you have access to stuff like an unlimited rocket launcher on subsequent runs, you can focus on being a badass and extracting your revenge on Nemesis.
It's my turn, bitch!
From start to finish, Resident Evil 3 never takes itself too seriously, and it isn't ashamed to be anything more than a fun action romp. Even though it's not a faithful retelling of the original, it succeeds in evoking the spirit of 90s action media which I'd argue is much harder to pull off. So when you next play RE3 Remake, bring the popcorn and embrace its cheesy heart. After all, it's a big dumb action movie, and that's okay.